podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to 49 Unbeaten, the official ArsenalVavel podcast. This is episode 32. I am once again joined by Dan and Ben. And it's been a busy weekend for football and for Arsenal. We're going to get straight into talking about our 1-1 draw with Fulham and then come on to the bigger and not so better news, I think. So, Dan, 1-1 draw with 19th placed, 18th placed Fulham.
19th, yeah.
Horrendous game, horrendous weekend.
Where did it go wrong? And Eddie Nketiah had the audacity to go like that to an empty stadium. I don't hate on the guy. I don't think he's good enough for Arsenal. He's a good servant to the club from what he's done. He's good for those FA Cup games, but I don't think he's Arsenal level. And then, yes, he was in the right place at the right time, which is what he's best at. And he goes like that to an empty stadium. And I'm just like, after drawing 1-1 with 19th place, I'm sorry, but oh man, the game was just so frustrating because we had the ball in the back of the net 3 times. We, what was it? Smith Rowe, the first one, and then the
Ceballos
header, but Saka's left toenail being offside. It was so frustrating to watch. And then El Neni just kind of underwhelming, and it was just really frustrating game to watch. And did we deserve the 1-1 draw? I think both teams played really bad, and we did really miss Partey. And when he came on, he did make a difference. But if we play anything like, I was going to say when we play Villarreal, but are we going to play Villarreal? Or are we going to be a football club? Are we going to get deformed? I don't even know. But yeah, if we play anything like that, and if we get into European semi-finals and finals, then we're going to be absolutely destroyed.
It's a really weird thing because you've almost now have like nothing to focus on. After the result, we were all really annoyed and angry and upset with the performance because we thought that will cost us. Now it almost seems redundant. It's a really we'll talk about the performance. You're right. It was useless. El Neni, Ceballos doesn't work. We should have learnt from that. It's just a weird, Matt Ryan comes in for a random league game because he trained like a beast.
No, I don't mind that. I don't mind that.
No, I'm more than happy for him to play. The season's meaningless now, apart from at the time we thought Europa League. We're sort of playing for pride now. I'm more than happy for Ryan to come in, but then you look at it and it's that midfield doesn't work. I like the attacking 3.
The attacking 4, yeah.
Lacazette's in good form, but I wouldn't have complained if we saw someone else in there. With Everton coming up on Friday, the season's done, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
League form. I don't care now whether we play Balogun and Nketiah, Aubameyang, Lacazette up top. It doesn't really make any odds to me in the league. At the time, semi-final was what we need to focus on. Now that seems like a dead rubber. We might not even play in it, or we play in it for no reason because we're not in the competition next season. It was dreadful performance. We didn't deserve to win. I know we had goals ruled out and whatever it is. Let's be frank, he was offside. The penalty was, I'd say, harsh. But there's contact. You can understand why it's given.
I don't know if there is contact.
There's a touch on the toe. Whether it's half on the toe and half on the pitch. But
it was minimal.
There's some form of contact.
I can't. No, I
just. It looked to me like
not enough for him to do his Tom Daly impression. Yeah, no, of course not. But it's the way he treads on his toe and then he just kind of goes woo like that.
Yeah. It looked to me like he stomped on the floor. Whoever Aina went down.
It was Lamina, wasn't it?
Yeah, I forget who it was now. Honestly, there's so much that's happened since. But you look at another angle. There's contact, but then you look at it.
No.
You look at in the build up to it. Aina's offside. Aina looks offside. He's level.
If we're giving penalties for that, then there is literally no point playing the sport. It's stupid from Gabriel to dangle a leg there.
Yeah.
And that is, that's fine. But if you're going to give a penalty for perhaps minimal contact, perhaps, well, in my opinion, no contact, because his foot is close to the other person's foot in a game of football, then it's ridiculous.
I did think our actual goal that was given was going to be called offside anyway, because I was dead certain Rob Holding was going to get pulled back for interfering in the goalkeeper's line of sight.
But he's not.
But he's not. But it's so Arsenal. It's so Arsenal for that to happen to us.
Ironically, it probably should have been ruled out, but by Premier League rules, it would, because Scott Parker's got a point. You know, if you're playing in goal and Rob Holding is 2 feet in front of you, you can't move because you can't. You have to anticipate that he might get a touch on the ball. You don't know he's offside.
He saved it. He made a brilliant save though. So what did he stop him from doing?
I mean, you're right. He made a save, but then did pat it into the path of 3 players.
Yeah, the argument is he could have made a more comfortable and probably better save if he hadn't been reacting so late because Rob Holding was near him and he can't tell if Rob Holding's going to get a touch on it, you know?
I have to say, Areola had a fantastic game.
Oh, it was brilliant. Brilliant.
The save from the Pepe header was brilliant.
Oh, honestly, yeah. There was moments you look at that, you're like,
I was dead certain that was in.
I mean, I don't want to criticise him, and I think
I don't think
No. I mean someone else. We've all been clamouring for him to come in, but Martinelli needs to work on his finishing because, I mean, the chip's hard. He's running. I mean,
first chance he had inside like a minute.
Then he had another one, the turn and shoot. There was no power on it, but I mean, he's still kid. He's still recovering from an injury. His second start in a year, or whatever it is. I mean, I'm not criticising him. I think he's a great player, but it wasn't his day, was it?
I think the Martinelli showed for me why he hasn't been starting games under Arteta. I think he's very unpredictable in a side that likes to be predictable.
I think he needs more minutes. So
for sure.
Try to get minutes, but I think he needs a run of like games in the team.
But trying to look at the game the way Arteta would probably look at it.
Sure.
He's going to be wanting sure things, and that was a touch. Must have been about half an hour in. It came out from a Fulham corner to the edge of our box, and Gabby tried to sort of touch around the corner and lost the ball on the edge of our box. It didn't lead to anything. That was where I just thought that's sort of the thing that makes, if it comes off, it makes you look brilliant. But because it's not coming off, it's not something Arteta's going to want to risk.
Yeah,
you know, Arteta's, despite all the suggestions of, he's a brilliant manager, he's very risk averse.
Yes.
He's always been, for the entirety of his Arsenal time, he's been risk averse. We went to a back 3 to try and stop goals going in first, and then we moved forward from there. It's never been a take the handbrake off sort of thing with Arsenal.
It was is a draw a fair result? I mean, you looked, Parker was fuming in the tunnel. Anderson kicks over our water stand. That would hurt Fulham more than it would have hurt us to lose, I think.
Yeah, we didn't fully deserve it, but at the same time, it was a pretty trash game anyway, wasn't it? It was a very scrappy game. We had some chances. We didn't dominate the ball like we should have. I don't really know.
It's stunk of 2 teams playing a dead rubber. Fulham are fighting. They're still mathematically not down, but you look at the Newcastle result. You look at sort of West Brom almost picking up a bit of form. I mean, it's unlikely they'll stay up. I mean, I think
they're the most likely of all the clubs to stay up, I'd say.
Newcastle are safe now. I know they've got hard games, but that win against West Ham was crucial, I think. But I mean, for us, it's meaningless now whether we get this Super League thing coming through or not, because I mean, with 9th in the league, I mean, we might finish above Spurs with Ryan Mason as their new manager. I don't know, but
can we just take a second to appreciate that Tottenham Hotspur sacked serial winner Jose Mourinho 6 days before their first final in 3 years and replaced him with Ryan Mason, who has never taken charge of a professional football match
Can
and
we
the
also
only reason
appreciate?
he's retired is because he fractured his skull.
Can we also appreciate Jose Mourinho, we hate him, but I respect him so much because
Unconfirmed.
they've had to pay 30 million to sack him. They've had to pay him 30 million. I mean, he's a genius. Like, maybe not as a football manager anymore, but as 30 million just to sack him.
But we always knew that was going to happen. When Spurs handed him a 3.5-year contract, you looked at it and went, "Yeah, that's 18 months, isn't it?" Because you know he has third season syndrome, and even from the start, he never got the first season bounce that he's usually gets under a club.
Did you see the stat about him that he has got sacked every 3 years for his last 3 clubs, and it's always gone up like a day. He sort of got sacked the 17th, the 18th, and the 19th. So he got 2021, 2018, and 2015.
Yeah,
it's a really weird pattern. But I don't know where to start with Arsenal's season.
just end it. Don't start. I mean, don't open it. Just
I don't know where to start with the Super League either.
Just end that too.
If you haven't heard, which I don't know who hasn't heard, Arsenal are one of 12 founding members of a new European elite competition, basically. And not in terms of quality, in terms of the 12 arguably biggest commercial, well, not even that.
Coefficiency and money.
It's not coefficiency because you've got Bayern Munich aren't in it, PSG aren't in it.
They've opted not to be in it. All of the biggest clubs in Europe have been invited to, and PSG, Dortmund, and Bayern Munich at the moment have declined.
And Leipzig.
I mean, no, Leipzig are getting into this because they've got stupid money owners.
No, they've already said they're not going to be in it.
They said they're not.
Yeah, they followed Dortmund.
I mean, I don't know. I think this announcement has caused a revolt around football. Every genuine fan, I mean, every football fan despises this. And rightly so, the owners of our club, of every other club involved, are being heavily criticised for this. This is turning football into a business, like more of a business than we've ever seen before. We all know football's a business, that it's how you run the club. And Kroenke, I mean, talk about Arsenal, Kroenke using Arsenal's money to go and build a ranch in Texas and fund his NFL team in their new stadium. Same thing with the Glazers. Same thing with Henry at Liverpool, Abramovich. Man City and PSG are owned by countries, basically, and it's a money-making scheme for all of these clubs, and it is I think the worst thing that can happen in football.
100%.
Because it's I mean, first of all, if it was an approved tournament, I mean, they announced it halfway through, like at the end of it. It's a ridiculous time to announce it. If they'd got a UEFA approval or whatever it is to say, right, we're not like and build it something proper, I think fans would understand it. But it's
I disagree entirely.
No, but I mean, if you say right, we want to revamp the Champions League or revamp European competitions and put this forward as a proposal, I think it might have got a better reaction. No.
So
I mean,
the revamped Champions League proposal at the moment that they've released is in many ways similar to the.
It's the same thing with more teams.
Yeah, well, it's more teams, but also teams get in even if they don't finish in Champions League places based on their coefficient, which is ridiculous because it makes season upon season. You know, no season actually matters, provided that you sort of average an all right sequence. Like, take this season, West Ham, Leicester, they've been playing brilliantly. They deserve to be in those places that they're in through the merit. Yeah, Arsenal are in 9th, Spurs are in 7th or 6th or whatever they are. Liverpool are outside the Champions League places. They don't deserve Champions League football because they're not good enough. You watched last week the second leg of the Bayern PSG game, and everyone said, this is a brilliant game. This is one of the best games to watch. I sat there thinking two things. This would kill me every week watching that. And secondly, we would get smashed by both teams.
Can I also say you wouldn't appreciate it as much because
exactly
the reason you enjoy the PSG Bayern is because how many times do you see that? Maybe you see a game like that maybe once or twice a year when two big hitters play in the Champions League, and it's not an underwhelming affair.
I mean, you look at the semi-final. Chelsea, Real Madrid have never played each other in a European competition.
Yeah.
I mean, in however long, I'm sure they met in pre-season friendlies and before
pre-Champions League. It wouldn't be enjoyable. And like Ben said, we would get smacked up and disposed of every single week. I mean, the only thing that makes me go, maybe we wouldn't, is because, well, if we're getting, 400 million pounds to spend on whoever we...
So is every other club. It's just going to be inflated transfer fees, inflated wages. There's no...
It's turning into career mode. We're going to go, okay, Grealish, Maddison, Upamecano, I don't even know anymore. Oh yeah, Odegaard, yeah, nothing like that. We can just go and spend whatever we want. And then someone might watch players' prices skyrocket as well, because that's where it's going to separate the distance from the smaller clubs and the bigger clubs, because smaller clubs like Leicester, West Ham, no disrespect, can't afford some of the signings we make. They wouldn't be able to afford multi-100 million pound signings. But the second we're getting the funding to be able to afford these players like Haaland are going to go from 150 million to 350 million. And players that are maybe 30 million are going to go to 80, 90, 100, 110. And this is where players are just going to be outpriced in the market because they're not getting the same funding that we're getting. And that's where it just ruins a massive aspect of football.
But worse than that, the teams that are below us aren't even going to get the same funding that they're getting at the moment. They're going to get less funding because who in their right mind decides they want to buy the rights for a Premier League that doesn't include the top six sides? Super Sunday is now going to be Leicester, Aston Villa, and West Ham, Burnley. Who wants to watch that?
I mean, let's be frank. All sponsorships from English football, if this goes ahead, will go. I mean, you can say that as a brand, as a fan, you're against it. But this is going to bring you money. If you get to see Arsenal, Real Madrid 1 week, and then Barca, PSG, and then the El Clasico, on a weekly basis, you see the 12 biggest clubs in Europe, bar 2 or 3 teams.
Mm.
That's where it's going to go. Amazon, Netflix, Disney, Facebook.
The thing is, DAZN's the big one that they're saying are going to stream at, apparently. DAZN are going to buy the rights to stream it.
I think they've distanced themselves recently, though. But it's just...
The thing is, these... it's just designed to, ruin football as we know it.
It's not even as we know it. It's just football for football fans. The only connection that Arsenal will have with London is the fact that their stadium's there now. They used to be, a part of that community. They used to, Spurs were the same. You see all these things, during coronavirus about Abramovich renting out his hotel or giving his hotel free to NHS workers. Arsenal made 55 people redundant and got rid of Gunnosaurus in a pandemic because apparently we couldn't afford it. And now it's 350 million or whatever it's going to be.
3.5 billion initial fee and then sort of 300 to 400 million pound a year.
To make it worse, not only are we not good enough, in a weird way, we tried the European Super League. Every year for 5 years, we played Bayern Munich twice or Barcelona twice. And we lost every time, convincingly. But we're A, not good enough, B, don't deserve to be there on merit, and we don't deserve to be there on European pedigree either. Let's make that clear. We've got to a final. We haven't won anything. We are riding the coattails of the fact we had Arsene Wenger and went invincible. That is it. That is our claim to fame.
I mean, we're also riding on the fact that we had 20 consecutive seasons in the Champions League and now 25 consecutive seasons in Europe. Is the point. I mean, and that's why our UEFA coefficient is so high, because we've historically continued to qualify for European football when Man United haven't.
We've continued to qualify. We haven't continued to go any further.
We've not done anything. We've got to 2 finals in my lifetime, I think, 2006 and that Euro.
The one that can't be mentioned.
19. Which we have no recognised European trophy. We've got the Cup Winners' Cup from '94 or whatever it is. No recognised UEFA modern trophy. I mean, neither of Spurs, neither of. But it's money, isn't it? Let's be frank. This will turn more American the longer it goes on. This will eventually, a draft system will be introduced. I mean, I don't think we'll relocate, but this will end up being played across the world.
Oh, imagine.
No, it will.
Arsenal now play their games in Europe.
They'll stage the El Clasico in the Middle East, and then they'll have the Manchester Derby in Australia.
They might even play it in Dubai, like most of the games.
That's what I mean.
They'll play it at times that are not conducive to English fans anymore. English fans have to understand, I think, or not understand, but have to come to terms with the fact that we are priority 100, maybe 1,000.
We're not on the list. We're not considered in terms
of
60,000
fans that go to the stadium every week. How many of them can you say are there every single week? There's a lot of them, but there's also a lot of people that will be queuing up. The season ticket rates are through the roof.
I mean,
I can tell you for a fact, I'm on the season ticket waiting list. I've been on it for about 5 years, and I'm still number 80,000 in the queue.
And this is before you even think about the tickets that they'll sell to tourists when everything reopens. Arsenal and the other teams in this thing, maybe with the exception of Man City, will not have a problem filling their stadiums with tourists. And it doesn't matter to Arsenal because we're a business, whether it's tourists or people from North London or the surrounding areas that go to the game. Because at the end of the day, they all pay the same money and they all will watch the same thing and they will all be the same consumer. It doesn't matter whether the Arsenal fans boycott it, because there'll be people in there that will pay the money. And even if ticket prices go up, there'll be still people that pay the money because they want to see it.
I mean, there's about 45,000 season ticket holders, I think. You also think, how many can you fit in hospitality? We've got 8 suites, which go for over £1,000.
Hospitality is irrelevant, really, because that won't change because those people already have the money to go to hospitality.
Yeah, no, but you can buy boxes. You can that's gonna. You're right. That's gonna stay. You've probably got, 40. For the best part of it, Saturday afternoons, you've got 45,000 of the same people every week, and 20,000 tickets on general sale of a rotating list of about 30,000 people, and then the rest of tourists or fans from abroad, or sort of people the Cronkies have got in because they're their mates. Or competition. And Arsenal give away free tickets with competition winners and stuff like that. But
it's a disgrace. And then the fact, on top of that, everyone seems to think that this will make Arsenal an elite club because we're in this. It won't. Arsenal will stagnate because we don't need. There's no threat of relegation. This season, Arsenal. Arteta's job was on the line because there was a threat of relegation. We were 15th. We might get relegated. All of this stuff came about relegation. Relegation goes. Arsenal will be. Stan Kroenke will be quite happy to watch us sit in 15th season after season after season because we'll get more money than we would if we finished 6th in the Premier League season after season after season. And he'll have to put in less money and he'll be able to take more of it. And it's a disgrace.
Based upon the money, though, he won't have to put money in because he'll be getting the self-sustainable model. Like they said in the statement, clubs will be able to be self-sustainable and owners will be making profit rather than now having to put money into these clubs.
Well, do you reckon this is going to go the way of the Chinese Super League? That it'll be great for 3 years because they're bringing the world's biggest talent. World's biggest talent is a stretch, but they're bringing in high-profile, internationally capped players, and then everyone gets bored of it for a bit. It's great. It's great for that bit where you're sort of getting all the attention, and then
I think it's going to flop.
Let's be real though. This currently isn't replacing Arsenal's place and everyone else's place in their domestic.
But it makes a mockery of the domestic leagues.
No, I agree. But they're saying this is our new European tournament, right?
Yeah,
basically,
sure.
It's a new Champions League for these clubs. So it would be, right, we'll play Aston Villa on a Saturday, and then we'll go and play our Real Madrid game, and then we've got Everton, and then we'll go and play Chelsea in the Super League, and then play Chelsea again, and then it's Barcelona, and it's at the moment it's a new midweek European competition. It is
provided that
every other league doesn't do what they're threatening to do, which I don't think they will. But
well, I don't know because they're saying that saying that if Arsenal, if these clubs break off, then they will be banned from.
Yeah, but it's not in anybody's interest to do that, because at the end of the day, Gary Neville was saying about how they should be hit with sanctions, etc. But the top 6 clubs are the reason that Gary Neville has a position as a pundit and is paid as well as he is. Let's not forget, Sky tried the same thing. It's all about money. Sky tried to make it £15 for a game
from Burnley.
Yeah, that's a joke.
I agree.
It's going away from football fans that want to watch football because they support their club. It's been going away from them for years, and this is just a massive fuck you to football fans that want to go and watch their team every week, that support, watch every single minute. And it's great for international fans because it might make them feel more connected, if games are at more sensible times for them. But at the end of the day, it's the English Premier League that is about English teams that just happens to be exported globally.
I mean, if the Premier League and the FA, I mean, we're Arsenal fans, we know more about our league structure than we do about La Liga or whatever. Let's talk about England. If the FA and FIFA and the Premier League had any authority, their rules state that you cannot enter an unsanctioned competition without approval. It's not being approved. So therefore, all six of these teams have violated the league's and the governing body's rules. They have to impose sanctions.
Yeah,
I know it doesn't bode well.
Or it all just doesn't mean anything, doesn't it?
No, but I mean, the money. If it's a fine, it doesn't mean anything to 6 of these teams, because the money that we're getting in from this far outweighs the 100,000 fine or whatever we're getting.
Unless they're talking about apparently UEFA are planning to sue each club 50 to 60 billion euros.
Yeah, but then you're going to bankrupt your 12 of your biggest 15 teams in the world.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing's ridiculous, because then these teams will band together. They'll start their own organisation, their own international tournaments. They'll bring the best players in the world into this thing and have their own World Cup, their own governing body. They make the rules, and it will go from there. If the Premier League and the FA have anything about them, impose these sanctions. We don't know what they are. They won't, but we don't know what they are. We don't know whether this is almost as bad as what Rangers did in terms of going bankrupt, and they go and get demoted to the 4th or 5th division.
The Premier League are in a lose-lose situation here. It's simple as, because the big 6 teams are their money makers. They're the teams that you go to watch. Super Sunday is, it's Man United, Man City, and it's
meant to be the biggest games of the weekend.
Yeah, that's why they're set that way. So Sky can make a load of money on Super Sunday, and retain viewer attention, etc., etc. It's why people go, "Oh, I'll clear my schedule for Sunday because it might, there might be a good game at 4:30 and a good game at 2 or whatever." But they sanction the teams as hard as they should be sanctioned, and they make a huge financial loss, because nobody wants to watch Burnley, West Brom followed by West Ham, Brighton. Nobody.
I mean, it's a really interesting point, because the Premier League, to survive as a commercial success, cannot lose their 6 biggest teams. And I know West Ham are 4th and Leicester are 3rd, or whatever the rankings are. Arsenal, Liverpool, Man United, Man City, Chelsea and Tottenham are the 6 biggest teams in this country. Because of what they bring and the commercial success they bring. Historically, Spurs aren't in that conversation. Man City, you could argue, aren't. Chelsea have come into it recently. There's much bigger teams.
I'd say City are definitely.
Fine, but you look at club size. Historically, Leeds are a massive team. Nottingham Forest are a massive team. Newcastle, Aston Villa, these are massive teams. But in the current market, those 6 teams, the big 6, whatever you want to call them, bring the most money. The Premier League get rid of them. They demote them to the National League or wherever it is. They will lose hundreds and hundreds of millions, maybe billions of money, because no one's going to come and watch, as Dan said, teams outside of that big 6 on a regular occurrence. If they let them stay and they give them financial sanctions and maybe dock them all 30 points or whatever it is, just to be safe that none of them get relegated, but we've been harsh enough.
Hang on. Dock us 30 points. We're on 42 points. We'll be worse than Sheffield United.
No, I mean, yeah, but come the end of the season, do whatever it takes to be serious enough that none of them win the Premier League, but they all remain in the division. And then, like you said, the Premier League cannot win in this because they either get rid of their 6 biggest teams, the 6 biggest money makers, and get praised for tough sanctions, but lose money, or get criticised for allowing these to break your rules and have no serious punishment.
They want to compete in these competition, the Super League, alongside the Premier League. They don't just want the Super League. They want
but the Premier League rules state that they can't.
However, the Premier League has said this isn't allowed. You can't do that. So it's just a case of there's going to be a massive lawsuit. Lawyers, it's going to be a battle of lawyers. I mean, at least, Man City's lawyers are kind of on the same side of the club, so you think that they're going to get what they want, seeing as Man City's lawyers seem to have more money than UEFA do. But it's going to be a massive legal battle, and we're just going to have to kind of wait and see what happens in the following months, realistically.
Yeah, but it's just so narrow-minded. I know it makes business sense for all these clubs, but I think it's so disgraceful that the teams are forgetting where they've come from. You know, Manchester City, I remember when they were playing with Danny Mills and Stephen Ireland and getting spanked 7-1. Like, that was 15 years ago. I remember when they got taken over. I remember when they bought Robinho on deadline day. You know, they've got to remember that they've got to be sort of humble. They were a small team in Manchester that have now spent a load of money to become one of the biggest teams. And they should have some respect for where they've come from and how they've got there, and not have this sort of desire to suddenly jump ship as soon as they think something more appealing is coming along. And I think that it's just, you talk about all these clubs and, you know, Manchester United, I know Gary Neville was saying yesterday, Gary Neville's he was spot on with everything he said, but he said it from a position as a Sky Sports pundit and an owner of Salford who have bought their way into the National League. So, I mean, there's
a level of hypocrisy, but what he's saying is right.
Yeah, he's spot on. Manchester United are a club who generally have been, you know, respectful and quite good. Liverpool are a club that they're built on Shankly's idea of, you know, football socialism and, you know, the idea that you'll never walk alone, which is just, it's just taking the piss out of the people that want to go to games and the people that live around these places, that grow up supporting these clubs, that just are suddenly either priced out of it, which they have been recently, or put out of it because they can no longer go and watch their side because every time it's away to Madrid or away to Seville or whoever, you know. And then it's just the lack of respect that these clubs are having for the football that they've played for the last 15 years and the football pyramid that they support so strongly. You know, it's not, I was having this debate with someone else who was saying it won't really change anything, but in the long term, if you think about it from a longer term, say like 3 years down the line, these clubs decide actually, so say they've been allowed to carry on playing, they decide actually we've got too many games, we're going to lobby for the FA Cup replays to be abolished, for example. All of a sudden, if Cambridge United, I remember Cambridge United when I was in Cambridge, they played Manchester United and they drew at their ground. And they ended up going away to Old Trafford, and the gate receipts alone kept them afloat for like 6 months.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, that goes. That money that you don't think about because it's so inconsequential to, you know, Arsenal or Manchester United or Manchester City is huge for a team like, you know, Cambridge United or Marines.
Newport got a replay against Spurs. They drew 0-0 at
Shrewsbury got a replay against Liverpool last season. You know, these. The clubs that are lower, that don't have any of the financial ability that these bigger clubs have, this makes a huge difference to them. And if you get rid of the replays, say, you know, you've got teams that are disappointed to be drawn at home against Liverpool.
Yeah. I mean, and you've got to think about this. The League Cup is a midweek tournament. I mean, are you saying now the 6 biggest teams in England aren't going to participate in the League Cup if it clashes with the Super League game?
Let's be fair as well. Like, the Premier League's been, not even the Premier League, English football's been heading this way a long time. I mean, the Carabao Cup draw was made to suit tie time because it's now the Carabao Cup and not, the Carling Cup or whatever it used to be. It's been a steady progression to where we are now. And I think football fans have accepted it to a point. There are areas where we decide, actually, this isn't okay. The £15 pay-per-view was one. Our football fans took a stand. And the arrogance, I think, of these clubs to think that they can just walk away from everything they've built in England because and it is obviously financially driven, but I suppose it's difficult because we are, we've been called what we call legacy fans now because we support the club from nearby where the club is.
I mean, yeah, it's that's what annoyed me. They're sort of club saying that the legacy fans sort of are less important and we're sort of building for the future of the new fan, which is basically we don't care about all the local fans or English fans. We want to bring in more of the American fans and more Middle Eastern fans with more money than you to come and support and give us money back.
Yeah, we saw it a lot in the early 2010s. I remember Arsenal signed Rio Maichi and then went on a tour to Asia just to try and tap into that Asian market. And it's not an unknown phenomenon. It's just it's just the way that it's come to a head with the European Super League. It just destroys everything about being a fan of the club. You're no longer you no longer feel a part of the club. I don't know. Vino was meant to be doing a Q&A with the Arsenal Fans Trust this Thursday, which has now been cancelled. They don't. The way they've done it as well at 11:30 on a Sunday night. They've gone basically. We don't care about the fans in England who support our clubs. That's a massive fuck you to them. Yeah. That's it. We're going to fight for the fans. In Hong Kong and Malaysia and America that want to watch our sport because that's where we're going with it now.
Yes, but if we get expelled from the Premier League, right? For argument's sake, say it happens, you'd expect, in theory, I mean, you don't want to lose these clubs from the Football League or from a recognised division, so National League. That completely requires a complete and utter restructure of your EFL. Yeah. Because you lose 6 teams. Do you then say, right, this season is irrelevant, no one gets relegated apart from these 6? So then you've got to promote what? The top 6? So from the Championship, what? So there's no playoffs? How much does the playoffs make teams? How much, how do you know? Do you sort of say, fine, we'll promote the top 2 and then 4 to 9 get a playoff? Times 3.
There's so many questions that will unfortunately remain unanswered until we know a bit more what's happening. We're still very much in a kind of recovery stage where we're just kind of trying to process the news of what's happened and what's potentially happening. But things will become more clear over the next weeks and months, we hope, before the start of next season. But I just think we all need to be prepared that football as we know it could look very different come August or whenever this all is going to start. So,
but let's be clear, this is embarrassing for the fans, the UK fans at least. I can't speak for people abroad, but this is embarrassing for the fans of these clubs that have Arsenal have sat through every single like Arsenal fans like us have sat through every single minute of every single game this season. We've watched us in November when we lost to Burnley. We've watched just, throwaway games against Wolves. We've watched our terrible season. We've lost 13 times this season. Yeah. And Stan Kroenke wants to say, we'll put you in with Real Madrid, Barcelona. That's not something that you can be, that's not something you can be given. That's something you earn by playing well. You earn the right to play these best teams.
Just quickly, UEFA's Alexander Seferin, I'm just reading the Fabrizio Romano tweet, has confirmed that any player who participates in the Super League will be banned from playing in the World Cup and the European Championships. They will be ineligible for their national team.
Is that every player who is currently on course to play, or is that every player who does play? Because the Euros this summer, for example, could be
players that will play in the Super League will be banned.
Okay.
So, providing this goes ahead, you will not see Phil Foden at the Euros. You will not see Sterling. You will not see Harry Kane, Marcus Rashford, Mason Greenwood.
Yeah, well, Harry Kane should have squared it anyway, so I mean, I don't know should ever again.
You will not.
Bukayo Saka,
English
Phil
fan,
Foden.
Saka won't go. You will have a
Phil
team,
Foden.
and Nick Pope. Pickford starts in goal. Pickford or Pope. That doesn't change. I mean, Grealish gets in there. Madison gets in there. There's no debate about Foden.
You'd have a cheeky bit of Theo Walcott on the wing and Patrick Bamford up front.
Do loans count? Can we put Maitland-Niles in?
Yes. Oh no.
No, he's contracted to Arsenal. So Maitland-Niles couldn't play. Willock couldn't play. It's
an embarrassment to football that the American owners who have no vested interest in the clubs that they're owning and are using them effectively as paperweights for their other deals. Taking out more debt, using the club as a guarantee of it. It's embarrassing that they now turn around and say we want to fundamentally change it so we can line our pockets more. And in the midst of a global pandemic, when people are struggling to stay afloat, people are struggling to stay sane. This is going to have a huge effect on people's mental health.
Yeah.
There's people that live for the football. I know I watch a load of football, but there's people who actually live for going to games.
Yeah. Just to say as well, just been reported here by Madrid Zone, which is a well-followed Real Madrid page, and apparently a Sky correspondent, Sky Cavill, has just announced that the 12 clubs have signed a 23-year commitment to the Super League. Apparently,
Are you sure that's not 2 to 3?
No,
that would make
23 years.
23.
It's a joke. It's an absolute joke that I don't understand this concept of, because you have it's the rich concept, isn't it? Because you have money, you can just do something or be something. And you thought football was something that was avoiding that horrible issue. In real life, sure, if you've got money, you can go and do whatever. Donald Trump made his millions because he had millions of loans from his dad, et cetera, et cetera. But in football, it seemed, I know it's naive to say it was a meritocracy. It wasn't a meritocracy at all, but it seemed a lot more like anything could happen. Leicester won the league. They were 5,000 to 1. Wigan won the FA Cup in 2012-13. Birmingham won the Carling Cup and didn't they get relegated in the same season? I mean, these things are just, these things are what makes football great. The reaction, I remember Arsenal got knocked out by Bradford one season. We've been knocked out by Nottingham Forest.
We lost some penalties, didn't we? 2015 was that? And they lost to Swansea in the in the final. We were Arsenal and Chelsea on the way, didn't they? Or something.
We were 2-0 up against Hull City, 2-0 down against Hull City as well in the FA Cup final. This God-given right to play in a tier above everyone else, it doesn't sit at all well with me. It's just not. It sounds so stupid. It's not cricket, is it? No. It's just not right.
We could talk forever on this, and we probably want to, but we don't want to bore you. So we will leave it there for now. That's all we know. If we find out anything else, it will be out on our social media channels at ArsenalVavel1. And if anything big breaks, we will jump back on. We will. I mean, I guess we'll have to preview the Everton game. We are looking at getting a very special episode booked in for my Arsenal 1 to 11 in the coming days. But what can you say? It's been.
Let us know in the comments what you think. By the way, let us know if you think it's a good idea.
Let us know.
I am still yet to meet someone who thinks it's a good idea.
I
will be interested. The first person I meet that thinks it's a good idea, I will want to pick their brains and kind of see where their logic is with it. But let us know in the comments what you think.
If you're for this, we will have you on. If you're for this, we will have you on, and we will talk. You can tell us why you think it's a good idea. So if that's something you're interested in, let us know in the comments or on our social media, and we'll get in touch. Any last words on either Fulham or the Super League, boys?
Rest in peace, football.
How we can't be 18th place Fulham and think we're in the European elite. Just end it.
Should focus on Fulham and Demander.
Fulham and Brighton and
Thank you for watching and listening. We appreciate you joining us on this day that football died. It was great to have you on board. We will be back very soon to preview a meaningless Premier League game between Arsenal and Everton. And until then,
I mean, we can go above Everton if we win.
Great. So we'll qualify for a tournament we can't play in. See you later.
Find more great shows or join the team at sport-social.co.uk.